Hey guys, great to be with you today. I'm talking about the keto Mediterranean diet, the benefits of it, and how to follow it. And so, most people have heard of the Mediterranean diet. It's widely considered one of the healthiest diets you can follow. And the Mediterranean diet really is, popularized by people in Italy and Greece, and that forms Spain, kind of that region around the Mediterranean Sea. And obviously, when you live near a sea, seafood is really, really common. We know seafood's very rich in omega-3 fatty acids, a lot of other great nutrients that are a part of seafood. And so that is a base. And people in the Mediterranean diet also have access to olives and olive oil. And olive oil is a fantastic food as well. And so typically the Mediterranean diet, as you can see in this pyramid, people around this area tend to be very active, enjoy community. And so that's a big foundation, as you can see, like at the bottom of the pyramid. And then as you go up, the foods that they're consuming, a lot of vegetables, lots of different colors, which provide polyphenols. They do consume grains, which tend to be whole grains and healthier grains than typical processed grains in America. As I mentioned, seafood is very common, and they'll also do some dairy, eggs, things like that. And less often would be more your red meats and sweets. And so that's what's common with the Mediterranean diet. And you could see here veggies, here's a typical plate, vegetables, you've got some sort of protein, typically fish, shellfish, things like that. Um, they do eat fruit and grains and starches, but a lot of vegetables, as you can see, and using olive oil typically as the oils with olives. And if you ever had like a Greek salad, they've got like feta cheese in there, things like that, which can have a lot of health benefits to them. Now let's talk about ketosis, because the Mediterranean diet will not get your body into ketosis, not unless you're doing intermittent fasting and doing something like one meal a day. Then you can eat the Mediterranean diet and eat the grains and the fruit and still get into ketosis. However, if you're consuming more than one meal a day, it will not get you in ketosis because it's going to be too high in carbs. And the benefits of ketosis are that your body burns body fat for fuel, and it is a very clean fuel source. You produce more energy with ketones and less metabolic waste. And so it's a clean burning fuel. And it's also very advantageous to get your brain to run off ketones because it helps reduce inflammation in the brain, helps you function and think sharper and quicker. And so many benefits in general. Ketogenic diet helps reduce inflammation, helps improve fat burning, which helps optimize your lean body tissue. Again, great for mental clarity and sharpness, for overall energy levels, helps increase the amount of mitochondria in your cells, which is called mitochondrial biogenesis. The more mitochondria, the more cellular energy you produce. Reduces your risk of chronic disease, can have great anti-aging effects, improving skin quality, improving joint health, a lot of great benefits there, and reduces cravings. And so that's one of the great benefits of it, is that once you get keto adapted, you very rarely crave sweets and sugar and things like that. So it's easier to follow because of that. Now, your typical pyramid, again, with a ketogenic diet, I highly recommend being physically active, just like what we saw in the pyramid with the Mediterranean diet. But your foundation is your fats. So on a Mediterranean diet, of course, you're eating a lot of olives and olive oil. That's the same on a ketogenic diet. You want to use olives and olive oil. You can also use avocados, avocado oil. You can use MCT oil, eggs, coconut oil, things like that. Lots of non-starchy vegetables. If you're doing fruit, very low glycemic fruit like lemons, limes, maybe a little bit of berries, things like that. A lot of good clean protein. On a ketogenic diet, you don't discriminate the protein. It's not like fish or seafood focused. It tends, we tend to also add in a lot of beef. A lot of people do beef and chicken and different meats like that, fatty meats in general. Fiber, getting nuts and seeds, fermented foods, and then using natural sweeteners as well. So major differences between the keto diet and Mediterranean diet. Again, Mediterranean diet's certainly going to be higher in carbs. Usually roughly around 40 to 50% of the calories on a Mediterranean diet are coming from carbs. Now, that's better than a typical American diet, or what the American Heart Association recommends, which I believe is somewhere around 60% carbohydrates. So it's better, it's lower than that. And typically on the Mediterranean diet, you're doing something around 20% protein and 30% fat. I believe it's like a 40, if I'm getting that math correct, it's like 40 to 50% carbs, 30% or so fat, and then like 30 to 40% fat, and then roughly around 20 to 30% protein. Okay. As opposed to that, a ketogenic diet is going to be mostly fat. So around 60, 70% fat, 20 to 30% protein, and 5 to 10% carbohydrates. And then the other difference here is that the Mediterranean diet really prioritizes olive oil and seafood as kind of the main sources of fat, whereas a ketogenic diet is going to also add in butter, red meat, coconut oil, avocados, avocado oil, things like that. So it's a more diverse array of fat that's coming in, more diverse array of types of fat. And so here are the good fats that you want to consume. Olives and olive oil are certainly in there. Fish oil, certainly another one. Mediterranean diet, they do eat eggs, so eggs are in there, but they really don't do avocados, although that would be a beneficial fat as well. So avocados, avocado oil, coconut oil is not talked about on the Mediterranean diet. So certainly on a ketogenic diet, we recommend coconut oil, coconut milk, grass-fed butter, ghee, tallow. All very good fats, and of course, avoiding all your bad factory fats, these highly refined vegetable oils that are very toxic for the body. So pros of the Mediterranean diet, it's a whole food based diet plan. So really focuses on whole foods, not processed foods, emphasizes nutrient dense foods that contain a lot of nutrients. And it's thought to reduce your risk of heart disease. And I would say compared to the standard American diet, it certainly does, less inflammatory, much better than that. However, for many people, it may be too high in carbs. I know for myself, eating a lot of grains, things like that, not going to work out well, it'd be too high in carbs for me. For many people, it's going to result in blood sugar swings because of the carbohydrates, and it's going to not allow the insulin levels to be low enough to promote fat burning, good, healthy fat burning. Now, some people have gotten great results with the Mediterranean diet, and that is fantastic. It's, again, certainly a much better diet than the standard American diet. But if you've tried it and you just didn't get the health results you wanted, you may want to consider a ketogenic Mediterranean diet. Ketogenic diet in general promotes blood sugar stability, reduces cravings, like I talked about, really helps with fat burning, and has a significant benefit on reducing your metabolic and inflammatory disease processes. So the cons, it's more restrictive. Obviously, you're taking out more carbohydrates, starches, and sugar. For some people, they feel like that's too restrictive. A lot of fruit. Sometimes people with adrenal issues may struggle. They may have a tough time adapting, getting keto adapted. So that's something you certainly want to consider and address. And I talk a lot about it in my book on how to do that, and on my website and on my YouTube videos. People with thyroid issues can sometimes struggle, especially if they get their insulin levels too low, then that can be an issue. So some of those people with adrenal and thyroid issues may want to carb cycle, especially if they're not feeling good as they're going through keto adaptation. I've seen some people with adrenal and thyroid issues do amazing, respond really well to a ketogenic diet, and really thrive and heal those issues with a ketogenic diet, where other people need strategic carb cycling strategies, which again, I do talk a lot about on my website as well as in my book. And so I'll talk about my book here when we finish. But foods that we certainly would want to avoid: conventional meat products, again, refined vegetable oils, like I showed in the other graphic, fried foods. So foods that are too fried. I'm not a huge fan of things like a lot of people are doing like pork rinds, right? Number one, I don't recommend pig meat in general, but then also really highly, when you cook meat and fry it and cook it like that, it's going to end up causing a lot of carcinogenic chemicals, things like heterocyclic amines and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, which are known carcinogens, really bad for the body. conventional dairy products, which are loaded with high omega-6 fats, which promote inflammation, also oftentimes have antibiotics and growth hormones in them, which can be problematic. Artificial sweeteners like aspartame, Splenda can be really tough on the gut and the brain. And then tap water, which is loaded with chlorine, fluoride, things like that. And then table salt as well. Instead, you want to get a good quality sea salt, good filtered water. Those are going to be much more beneficial for your body. So, what is the Mediterranean ketogenic diet? Well, when we're looking at this, we got to realize is a few things. So, number one, you got to restrict your carbohydrates in order to get into ketosis. That's critical. You want your fats to mostly be coming from monounsaturated fats and polyunsaturated fats. So that's going to be your seafood, nuts, seeds, avocados, olives, olive oil. So you're trying to avoid more of the saturated fats, which are going to come from beef and dairy and stuff like that. Coconut as well. Get most of your carbs from low carb vegetables. So broccoli, cauliflower, spinach, cabbage, asparagus, bell peppers, garlic, onions, things like that. All very, very good. Eat fish, seafood, poultry, and eggs, primary protein sources. You may also do, again, poultry, chicken, turkey, things like that. Adjust your protein and fat intake based on your goals. So if you're working out a lot, you certainly would want a little bit more protein in your diet to help build muscle tissue. So you have to kind of adjust that. If you're not working out regularly, you may want a little bit lower protein, maybe 20%, working out regularly, maybe 30, maybe even up to 35% protein, and a little bit lower on the fat for if that's you, if you're really building lean body tissue. So all important things to consider. And again, I talked a little bit about carb cycling strategies. Well, in my book, Keto Metabolic Breakthrough, I really go through how to apply nutrient timing, carb cycling strategies, who should carb cycle, who shouldn't. I talk a lot about adrenals, thyroid function. I talk a lot about improving bile flow, stomach acid production. We do a deep dive on digestive health. So if you want to use a ketogenic template or a ketogenic diet in order to optimize your health, then I would highly recommend my book because I show you exactly how to troubleshoot it, how to get in ketosis, get out of ketosis strategically, and then get back in. And I also show you how to optimize your digestive health, your hormones, and so much more. So check that out. There's a link below. You can also find it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, IndieBound, and your local bookstore as well. So check that out, and I would love to hear your questions, your comments. If you haven't liked this video, please do. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, go ahead and do that and hit the bell button right next to it. So that way you get all my latest uploads, you get a notification, so you know exactly when I'm going live. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys on a future online training. Be blessed, everybody.